Hi, I'm Sonia. Today I wanted to talk to you about stress. I wanted to talk to you about three different types of stress and how children might experience stress and a way that we can help support children with their stress. To help us understand stress a little bit more, I wanted to break it down into positive stress, tolerable stress, and toxic stress. So, what the research tells us about stress is that we can and we all do experience positive stress. So, an example of positive stress could be getting ready for a party, um, um, doing a performance, having to make a video. All of those things, they kind of, might make your heart beat a little bit faster. You might feel a little bit stressed about it. You get those anxious feelings. You might get the butterflies. But what this is doing for us is it's positive and it builds resilience. So an example of positive stress for a child might be going to the early learning centre. It's a very stressful event for a little one. They have to get up, they have to get dressed, they have to have their breakfast. When they get there, they have to separate from their loved one. It's pretty scary. It can be overwhelming, but at the end of the day, it's going to be a really good experience. They're going to have a great time. They're going to play with their friends, and probably that stress is going to last for a very short period of time, and it will be over. So there's a couple of examples or a few examples of positive stress. Positive stress is what we experience all the time, day in, day out, getting stuck in a traffic jam, running late for work. They're all things that we deal with, we get over, it's okay. Character building. Tolerable stress is a bit different, and tolerable stress is, it's nasty. It can be a really stressful event, and I would go as far as to say that many of us are living through tolerable stress at the moment. With tolerable stress, an example or any of us really, can be like when there's a tragic event. There might be that we're living under an enormous amount of stress because we've lost our job or primary source of income. There's someone sick in the family. Those kinds of things. There's been a car accident. They add an enormous amount of stress to us, for children as well as adults. This stress is something that really impacts us at the time, but what makes it tolerable is that there's light at the end of the tunnel, and we've got people around us supporting us with it. So connection is what makes it tolerable, and our resilience and our resources and our strategies that we've got in our life to deal with it. So our ability to deal with it relies very heavily on the people in our life that surround us and support us to get through this really awful stress that we're experiencing at the time. I hope that makes sense. The next level of stress is toxic stress. Toxic stress is the extreme end of the spectrum, right? So toxic stress is when we're living in a situation that we cannot see light at the end of the tunnel. We don't have people with us helping us to get through it. We don't have the resources, we don't have the strategies, we don't have the resilience to fight this or to get past this. Toxic stress, an example is if you're living in a domestic violence situation. Toxic stress can be when you're living in extreme poverty and you can't see a way out of it. You're constantly fearful, you're constantly anxious, you're hungry, you're worried, and your stress levels are where your body is flooded with the stress hormones. Cortisol is a stress hormone that floods our body during stressful times, but in toxic stress, our bodies are sitting with really abnormally high levels of cortisol circulating in our system. What's happening to our body and what's happening to our brain when we're flooded with cortisol and we're living with toxic stress? And that it can actually rewire our brain. It can change the way that our brain functions. And research has shown us now through the amazing scanning technology that we have now that it actually physically rewires and reshapes the brain. We know that when we're living with stress or when we have stress, even if it's just a short period of stress, we know that when we're flooded with stress, we don't access our thinking brain. We're not able to think clearly. We're not able to make good decisions. We can't plan. We can't access our memory bank. We can't store memories. We can't recall rules. We can't think clearly. Some researchers talk about it as we are functioning on our reptilian brain. It's our sort of emotional brain. When we're sitting in this sort of zone, this area of high stress or toxic stress, and when we're flooded with this cortisol, and when we're functioning on our reptilian brain, we're often sitting in that flight or fight response. And that's what makes us just simmering. Just if we're sitting in this toxic stress, if children are sitting with toxic stress, they are simmering with it just below the surface, and it doesn't take much for us to something to trigger us and to completely lose the plot. The good news is about the different levels of stress is that there are ways that we can support children and we can learn to manage our own stress. And mindfulness is one of the amazing tools that we have that supports us and has been proven to minimize stress levels and to decrease the cortisol hormone that circulates in our bloodstream when we're under stress. A simple act of taking in deep breaths and deep breathing, so in through our nose, big belly breaths, and out, letting it go. Simple series of breaths like that can lower cortisol levels very, very quickly. Being aware of your breathing and slowing down your breathing can actually slow down that racing heart. So there are some really, really simple mindfulness tools that we can use that are proven to help fight this stress and get our body back to normal. And if we can learn to use them ourselves, what a great tool that we have to be able to then teach our children to be able to reduce and calm their stress levels. All right, I hope you're enjoying the mindfulness series, and I'll see you again. Bye.